Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second part of the Moving the Magnets segment for this week. Obviously, with the game being on Sunday, you have the extended squads announced last night at 6:20, and now we're here for the teams to be finalised at 5 p.m. And boy, there's a fair. Hold on. Oh, I've got to get better at that. When I open up my YouTube, I don't remember to mute it, so I'll do better there. But yeah, a potential late twist of events when it comes to the selection of the squad. We had Fly's presser earlier today, so we're going to really unravel everything that he spoke about. I thought there were some really good questions and some really good answers from Fly, but something I was disappointed in, and it seems like it's going to be the same thing again in 2025, is the poor audio quality in these presses. Now, for those of you who were here for all the Moving the Magnets last year, we just dealt with shocking audio quality. I don't know why they don't pin a mic to Fly. You hear airplanes flying, kids crying. They just need to do better. For what they're pumping out, quality-wise, content-wise, in the last 6 months, it's been amazing, but they can't get these conferences right. Anyways, the wet weather contingency plan has been hinted in this presser with Fly. So Fly he's actually taking all the emergencies into state in case there is need for a late change. It's all contingent on how heavy this rainfall is. We're not sure exactly what it will be when the game is underway. Or when there's an hour to go leading into the game. So these are things they want to consider before finalizing or in case they need to make a late change. That is why they're bringing their entirely extended squad. Oleg Markov has been removed from the squad entirely for this game. So last night he was announced on the extended bench. He's now not there. He has been replaced by Lockie Sullivan. So you can see what the intention is there. You take out someone like Markov, who's 6'1", 6'2", probably not the cleanest player in wet weather footy. You bring in a Lockie Sullivan, okay? What does that mean? Does that mean it's a little bit contradicting? It could be, but my thought process is maybe Ed Allen gets the start, and instead of having Markov in a back line, maybe they go small, real small. Maybe they go Isaac Quaynor, Steele Sidebottom, and Josh Dacos running off the lines at different given times throughout the game. Otherwise, if that's not the case, maybe Will Parker gets the start and Ed Allen is the sub. That's something we could also see. Maybe Lockie Sullivan will be the sub, and it comes down to, do you want Ed Allen, who in this wet weather footy, yes, he's tall and he's not a small player, but he's going to want to be that player who is that hardball get player for Collingwood in the long term. So do we see that on Sunday? Do we see Ed Allen get the nod to start and win all the hardballs, or try to win as many hardballs as possible in the contest? Or do you go for a Lockie Sullivan as a sub to come in and be clean at ground level and get the hardball inside and feed it out to your Nick Dacos, to your Harry Perryman or Pendlebury or whoever it may be? So there's a lot of variables in ways that this can go. I don't think the triple M's are in any doubt. I wouldn't imagine. But if there was to be someone who would be in a little bit of strife, if you had to choose one, you're not taking out McStay, because he's going to assist Darcy Cameron in some ruck load. So straight away, McStay is probably going to play. I don't think the ACL is an argument against having him play. I think he's been good to go for a very long time. He played late last year. I don't think that's a reason to suggest that McStay will not be taken or will not play. I don't think Myercheck gets dropped. I think if anyone, it's Membry out of those three. But really, it's probably going to come down to what we see in the back line. But it will all be much more clearer in about 25 minutes when the final squads are announced at 5 p.m. If Membry gets dropped, it's probably one of the very few occasions where you as a player, being Membry, you would cop that. Just because of how significant and severe these conditions could be, you probably just wear it. You say, look, I've had a great preseason. I know what I'm worth. I know what role I'm going to play in this team for the season. I can understand if they want to go McStay, Myercheck, Bobby, Bill, Lockie, and Bo in the forward line. If they want to go four smalls, two talls, which is what we've done traditionally over the last 3-4 years anyways, not really having those three key pillars in the forward line. So the wet weather footy, they also Fly was asked about what happens when you are forced to play, but when you are playing in a game that is going to be as treacherous as it is on Sunday. The territory game is very important. Collingwood last year did really well kicking goals from where the origin of the play began in the forward half. So getting repeat inside 50s is going to be important. Winning the ball at the coalface in the stoppages is going to be imperative. Tackling pressure. 2 top 4 sides in that stat will be playing against each other on Sunday, GWS and Collingwood, when it comes to tackles. Keeping it in the forward half. Repeat inside 50s. These are going to be the keys or the paths to victory when you look at, all right, well, not necessarily on a player-to-player basis, but more so, what are the team goals that we need to strive towards in this game to ensure that we give us the best possible chance to hit the scoreboard and to dominate and own this game. So I thought that was quite interesting from old mate Fly. Let's quickly catch up on some comments. Stefanos Dikanis, Chris, how you going? Yasure Christos. There's no need to drop at all. We have enough ground players. We need to stretch them. All our forwards are good ground players. Yes. McStay, Membry, and Myercheck are very mobile for their heights. It could be something in the back line that gets changed. Markov is off the extended bench, so certainly there's something's being played with, being toyed with, and we'll see what that looks like. I think they recognize we'll need fresh legs in the guts and who can win the ball. I think Sullivan fulfills that role. Yeah, he'll come on with a bunch of energy. He can win a hard ball, and he'll have fresh legs in a heavy game. So makes sense. Chris, how you going? Slobber, I do not miss you. Yanni, on Sunday, jump on the fan cams. I think people would like to hear from you during the fan cams. Would love to hear from you. I don't know how much depth you guys have if you get any injuries. I think we do have good depth. Shane, at work, listening to Pies Footy. Yeah, I think for the extended, for the games on Sunday, Shane-O, we'll probably have more of these Friday ones at 4:30. So I'm glad you found a way to tune in, mate. Appreciate it. What about Dan as a backup ruck? Only 65% DC, 35% Dan. That opens up the forward line with Checkers, Billy, and Membry, and who can all chase and pressure. I don't love that because at the end of the day, McStay is not an out-and-out ruck, and like 35% is a big load to withstand as a backup ruckman. Like, let's have a look at the players. Let's go here. We'll go ruck. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go ruck. We're going to filter ruck position, and we'll filter key forwards and general defender, key defenders as well. Okay. What I'm looking for here, we know like someone like Mason Cox gets what? Where is he? I'm just trying to see what does Mason Cox got 25% last year and DC got 75. So I think to be asking of 35% for someone like McStay is a big ask. Like anyone beyond 25%, you've got Harry Bennett, you got Peter Laddams, you got Mark Blitzarves, you got Sam Naismith, then you got Tom Campbell, then you got Matt Flynn, Luke Jackson, Sam Draper. All these players or ruckmen or key position players who are playing beyond 25% in a ruck are more ruck than they are a forward. So I think 35% will be too much, and it'll be too much of an advantage for who's their ruckman? Kieran Briggs, isn't it? And he's a great ruckman. Kieran Briggs. What type of year did he have last year? He played 24 games last year. He had 23 coaches' votes, 15 touches, 10 contested possessions. 70% of his possessions are contested, being in the ruck. 80% of his time is spent in the ruck, and I imagine the other 20% is probably on the bench. So I don't fancy having Dan McStay featuring 35% of the ruck contest. I'd rather that be closer to 15%. I think that's the number we'll get. Hey, Anthony, did Matt Rao had talks with the Pies? He did in the off-season, Yanni. He had talks with the Bulldogs, Geelong, and Collingwood. So there is a little bit behind that we'll look into as we get closer to the off-season. We'll need some sort of exemption to access our 2026 first-round pick. I say that because we've already used 24 and 25. As a general rule, you have to use 2 of your 4 first-round picks every 4 years. We've already used 2, so we need to use the next 2. But we're going to try to get exemption from the AFL to utilize that pick. Digsby, how you going? Billy Elliott mid-split to give Nick, Crispy, and others a chop out. You know, Billy has trained a lot in the midfield in years gone by at training, but he hasn't done barely any centre bounce work this off season. So I don't think he's going to be in the picture in the midfield at all. Yeah, good to see Shane O'Brien. He was under great company at Geelong, Stephen Wells. And you've seen what Stephen Wells and the list management side of things have been able to do for Geelong in the last 2, 3, 4 years. Well, they're always relevant. They're always pertinent. So to snatch someone like Shane O'Brien away from that tutelage with the pre-existing Collingwood history, I think it's a great pickup. It's nice. Keith is their chop out ruck. Yeah. So, and what Keith again is a 25%er. So, yeah, we'd rather not have McStay against Kieran Briggs. Yanni, if conditions are really heavy, rucks are going to get exhausted more than normal. DC going to need a big chop out, and we can run Briggs off his legs. Dan will likely compete with Keith the most. Well, that's what I'm saying. So you're suggesting 35%. I'm saying it's to be closer to 15%. Let's see. We'll find out after the game. I'm happy to be wrong. I think he'll just match up when Keith is in there. But I would prefer DC gets that 85% and gets a bit of a look in against Keith as well. None of the forwards will be dropped, especially having Bobby Schultz, Elliot McCreary as our smalls to mix it up. Are you going to buy any Q's fragrances? It's a good question, mate. I'm not too sure. Are you? Briggs is a heavy boy, so in those conditions we can expose him. I think DC can run all day. We will find out. These are questions that require an answer. All right. So what else did Fly say in that presser? He said the Pies are not looking to emulate and recapture their 2023 game style. I love this because, for one, I've been saying this all off-season, pre-season. People are calling for, we want the Pies of old. We want Pies 2023. We want that rebounding game. And I said, that doesn't make sense. It's not consistent with evolving and revivifying yourself as a team when it comes to your game plan. You can't go in with the same game plan these days in any professional sporting endeavor. You look at 2023 to 2024, we tried to go in with the same thing because we didn't have mixed day, remember? So more or less, we tried the same thing. We tried to move the ball off half back, and it didn't work. Josh Dacos helped it in the back end for sure. Dan Houston is going to help it. But as I said, with those big boys up forward, we're going to have more reason to, or more willingness to go long down the line and set up and give players like Lockie Schultz and Jamie Elliott around the contest to feed at the feet of these big boys, Membry, Myercheck, McStay. We're looking for evolution, all right? We're not looking for the same old, because the same old won't work. It's like trying to piss in the face of the public eye with police cars shadowing the streets. It's just not going to work, right? You're going to get caught. You're going to get caught in the action. It'd be silly if it didn't work in 24. Why would you try it again in 25? So I think we're going to see more forward half. We're going to see more willingness to go long down the line. Even Scooter, he mentions, Scott Selwood mentions how he's looking forward to being able to look to a desirable kick going long to a contest rather than having to explore other options. Something we tried a lot last year was going long down the line, except into the corridor, because it was a bit more chaotic. It was less predictable. It was harder for players to read that and intercept. It would be harder for Sam Taylor to anticipate a long ball into the corridor. And while that's a nice trick to have up your sleeve as a Collingwood, if you're the Collingwood side, but if you do that more often than not, which we were doing it pretty much every game, in many situations where we probably would rather we wouldn't, you do leave yourself open going back the other way if it doesn't work out for you. And then once again, teams do figure out what you're trying to do. So it's just great to have different ways to go about it. And lastly, to that point about not recapturing and needing to emulate 2023, I think what's interesting is that he talks about the refreshing feel having Membry, Houston, and Perriman come to the club. And I thought, well, what happened in 2023? You look, we got Billy Frampton, we got Tom Mitchell, and we got Bobby Hill, right? All in different lines of the field. And it creates that need for competition. It creates that yearning for those incoming players to prove themselves to the players around them. It forces the pre-existing players in those positions to prove themselves to these new players and solidify their position in the team. So it creates that healthy level of competition. It's refreshing. It's a lot like 2023. In not to contradict my whole point, but it's a great way to freshen up things without having to throw the baby out with the bath water. Another one which was a great point from Darcy, or not a great point, but was something that was interesting to highlight in Fly's presser, was he mentions how Darcy Moore was able to have his first full pre-season in nearly 3 years. Going to a lot of the trainings myself, he was pretty much present and fully participating in most of those sessions. So he also talked with Damien Barrett last week and mentioned how Darcy Moore was effectively playing injured for the entirety of 2024. I think you guys might recall there was a week where Darcy Moore actually went in to get scans. We didn't really hear anything about it after that, but something wasn't right. He was getting scans. So the journalist asked, well, what are you looking forward to for Darcy the most in 2025? And Fly says, well, he's really keen to see a better version of DM30, especially or in particularly a fitter Darcy Moore. So I think he's really hedging his belief in the fact that Darcy Moore is a lot more fitter going into this year than he has in years gone by. So I think we earmark that one and keep a close eye on that. Geordie, got a little bit of a Geordie update. He's making a great case for next week. He's been fully training for the last 3-4 weeks. Mentioned how last year That was a great point. Again, Fly really gave us some insightful looks in this presser. He mentioned how last year there were many times throughout the year where players were fit to play but not fit to perform, and he'd like to avoid that at all costs in 2025. De Goey was definitely fit to play last year, but probably wasn't fit to perform. Tom Mitchell, fit to play, but not fit to perform. It seems Darcy Moore was fit to play, but not fit to perform. I vividly remember that game against Gold Coast, where Pendlebury just came back from his bicep tendon issue. And in that last play, that last sequence where Ben Long kicked that goal from 50 to put our lights out, Pendles did not tackle with both arms. He nursed his injured bicep and tried to tackle with one arm. That cost us a game. And that's a perfect indication of the point that Fly was trying to articulate. Players were fit to play, but not fit to perform. Very interesting, that. Let's catch up on the comments. Should play Hoskin Elliott up forward, can take a grab in a wet too. Yeah, that was he kicked 6 goals in that game against Freo Digsby. But he was a part of the conference for Jack Crisp's 250th milestone game and mentioned he would probably play forward, probably a deeper forward in some ways. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to figuring out what the lineup will look like once we get the teams in 9 minutes. The Smalls will have a big say if it's wet, and we have the best Smalls. I think Schultz in the wet might bring the best out of him. Don't mind it, Pierre. I don't mind it. With the resources the other teams have, you need to constantly change your plans. Exactly. For those who are wondering, Yanni he played professionally in Greece in the sport of basketball. So the man knows what he's talking about. You got to adapt. You got to evolve. Evolve or die. Adapt or die. Anyone see the 7 AFL teams' grand final predictions where 8 of the 9 voted GWS being in the granny? I thought it was absurd. They've got a good team on the list. They've got a good team on paper. A really good team. I don't think they have many flaws. Right now it's different because they're injured, but yeah. John, in 23, we had the best rebounding game plan, but we were also top 4 defensively. The defense this year will dictate whether we can make the grand final. Andreas, went to training today. Markov trained strong. Very surprised he isn't playing. Moore was great. Josh Dacos looked our best by a country mile. I think now, obviously disappointing to hear that Markov has been removed from the extended bench, but it seems completely just tactical more than anything. I think training on a week-to-week basis in season is going to be less significant in terms of if you train well in season, it's not as important as it is in the preseason, the off-season, because everyone's going at 120% in the off-season and preseason. In season, you're sort of just, for most players, you're just trying to get to the first bounce. So I take who's training the house down in season with a grain of salt. That's how I've looked at it. And that's even just myself playing in sports all my life. I know that in season where we're just trying to get to the starting line, and most of what we do in season is tactical. You would know that too, Andreas. You've played footy in the NFL, so you would know. Going through the tips, and lo and behold, Corns has picked GWS, like son, like father. Very funny. Yeah, well, we're going to do some tipping soon as well. After we get the team release, I've got a tipping competition that has a $300 grand prize, no entry fee. So I'll share that link if you guys haven't done it. I'll probably just do it now before the teams officially come out. But we'll also do our tips for the 2 games in opening round. Geordie should be there next week. Hold on 1 second. Post that. There's the link for the footy tips. All right. Geordie should be there next week. 1 new player per line. Even if they aren't going to have groundbreaking games, there is something about having something new and bring excitement to the players and overall team. I couldn't agree more, Jess. Refreshing, fresh competition, new perspectives, new relationships. It's smart. Oh, that was 2018. Sorry, Digsby. Agreed. Houston in next week, Geordie the week after. Person mentioning Schultz and Wet. I'm excited for him this year. Got better toward the end of the year. He'll be more comfortable in 2025. He's a great pressure player. He kicks goals. I just think I'd like to see his kicking going inside 50, improving a little bit more because he's more of a high half forward at the moment. The way where he's been playing positionally, I'd like to see him a little bit cleaner going inside 50. We're not going to see that on Sunday because of the weather, but that's room for improvement. But he's trained really well, very well this off season and preseason. Bring on the chaos. I think it's just completely strategy, John. Andreas was at training. He said that Markov trained there and trained strongly. Yeah. I'm excited to see him. I'm putting a multi on and Schultz kick the first goal with my money bet. Love that. Let's get the 4 points. Let's go, champ. Oh, yeah. Dog. Okay, so 4 minutes until the teams get announced. So let's open up afl.com.au, why don't we? afl.com.au fixture. So yeah, he was limping around training, wasn't he, Andreas? Are you sure it's not ankle? Would you really, if you're Will Hayes and the physio team, you probably wouldn't be running on a foot injury. I would imagine if he was out there trying to run, maybe he was trying to outrun an ankle injury. Is there any more news on that? Tim reckons Allen will play it and Parker the sub. Yeah, I think it might be. I reckon it might be. It also could be Sullivan the sub and Steele spend some time in the back line. Any chance they go in without Reef? I mean, potentially, but they've already removed Oleg Markov, who has a little bit of height, gives us a bit of height in the back line. So I don't think so. Yeah, he looked like he was in some strife. Looking at some of the videos that you guys put out, you and Jen and all them. Yeah, could be Sully. Could be the sub. It's down to Sully, Parker, Allen. We won't know who the sub is until 2:20 on Sunday. We are doing a pre-game show as well from 2:30 through to 3:30. No, that's a lie. 1:30 to 3:30. Goodness, Cass. 1:30 to 2:30. We'll do the pre-game show and then a post-game show as well. They named Markov, but they named him yesterday, and then they removed him from the list. They removed him from the extended bench. Ramesh, my man, my Discord brother. Thank you. Welcome to the club, my friend. Welcome. Anyone thought of Ash Johnson becoming a defender instead of Reef? I think that's been thrown around in the VFL at times, but really you probably want someone like Reef to develop that skill set rather than Ash Johnson. Ash Johnson is a little bit older, so you probably want to put more eggs in the Reef McInnes basket. Yeah, good point. Good point. Allen, a big body, wins the hard ball, feeds your Nick Dacos's and Scott Pendlebury's and Harry Perriman's. Could be the case. If I see Ed Allen on the wing, I'll spew up. I will spew up. I want to see him inside mid. Sully would be ideal. Fresh legs when everyone's getting tired. All right, let's get to the Collingwood GWS lineup. Ramesh, hey mate, watched all your vids over the preseason. I've never become a member of anyone, but can see the grind, and it's been a pleasure to watch. Thanks for feeding my pies addiction over the summer. No worries, mate. Your input in Discord and in the channel has been significant as well. So there's no Pies Footy YouTube channel without people like you. So I appreciate it, mate. You're a legend. All right. So this is the part where we just keep pressing refresh to find out what we're dealing with. I'll share the screen. There we go. All right. So we refresh. Up the Pies. Lineups. The latest team changes. Come on. All right. Here we go. So, Ned Long. Ned Long has been named on the bench. So you got Ned Long, Steele Sidebottom, Jamie Elliott, Tim Membry, and Ed Allen on the bench. Lockie Sullivan does not make it. Will Parker does not make it. Billy Frampton does not make it. But they will be emergencies. Oleg Markov is not there anymore. Geez, I did not see Ned Long making this side. Wow. I mean, he's a running beast. Okay. He's a running beast. He's a brick shithouse. So that probably means, right? Wow. That was no one thought about that. Wowee. So does that mean Ed Allen would have to be the sub or Ned Long? It's potato, isn't it, though? Potato, if you ask me. They're probably going to do... They offer the same thing. Ed Allen probably has a little bit more of an outside game than Ned Long, clearly. Horses for courses, Johnny. That's it. So there's your lineup. Braz, Darcy, Reef, Q, Howe, Dacos. It's official. Pez, Pendles, Lipper, Hill, Brody, Bow, McStay, Hoskin, Elliott, Shooter, DC, Crip, Dacos, Ned Long will probably be the sub. Still side bottom, Billy, Membry, Allen. Who got listed here? Callum Brown. He comes back to haunt us. Will he? Will he come back to haunt us? Kicked 4 goals against us last year. Was pretty much out of favour by the end of last year. So he gets an opportunity with the likes of Harvey Thomas, Darcy Jones. No, Darcy Jones is playing Riccardi. There's opportunities there for Callum Brown. So Connor Stone is someone who Collingwood were somewhat interested in the back end of the trade or free agency period. Trade period, I would say, sorry. He's looked good in the preseason for GWS. So what does this look like? Like matchup wise, once again, now we know for certain, right? Let's have a look. So we're going Braz with Toby. We're going Braz with Toby. You go Q with like a Brent Daniels. Jeremy Howe on, say, one of the smaller forwards. I mean, Toby Bedford's listed there, but he probably won't play in that position. You probably get like a Josh Dacos on, say, a Darcy Jones, Keefe, and then Reef on Keefe. And then I think we'll get decent looks on Reef playing on like a Callum Brown as well, for sure. Yeah, Bedford will tag Nick in the midfield. So I just want to put this on paper. So generally speaking, I'm not going to put Bedford plays 50% of his time in the midfield. I don't know if that will be more or less on Sunday. So let's just say Braz on green. Yeah. Braz on green. We'll say Braz on green. You probably say Darcy Moore might play on Keefe and roll off him. And then Quaynor on Daniels. Or better yet, let's say just for now, we'll go Quaynor on Callum Brown, his lookalike. They kind of look alike. They're both built like fucking machines, that's for sure. Quaynor on Callum Brown. And then you'd probably say like Josh Dacos on Darcy Jones. And then like you say Jeremy Howe gets a look in on Brent Daniels, but more so, I think Quaynor will also get a healthy serving on Daniels, and then you'd also get Jeremy Howe getting a really good serving or a look in on Cadman. So we've covered all grounds there, and then from the forward line there, you've got on the interchange, Callum Brown is someone who will play through the forward line for them as well. So there you go. That's why, Dom. So that's why it seems like we've removed Oleg Markov from our extended bench from yesterday. He was removed late and Lockie Sullivan was added. We're taking all our emergencies to Sydney. So there is still chance for late changes. But yeah, interesting. Ned Long, how do we feel? Are we shocked? I don't think Ned Long was in anyone's thought towards who would play. It was always Markov. It was always Parker. It was always Ed Allen. Now we've got Ned Long thrown into the equation. Toby was crap. He had a terrible final series. I don't think so. Maybe. So there's so many permutations, Ramish. There really is. Because of that move in the back line. Because of how dangerous they are in their small forward department. Maybe Perriman gets some sort of assignment. It sounds like Fly and all the training. Ned Long will be the sub. If anything, Ed Allen would play in the midfield and push Perriman into the back line. I wouldn't be surprised if we try multiple different things. That's the benefit of having all these versatile players. So that's we'll find out on Sunday, Ramish. I don't have the answer for you, but it's a great question. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll finish the stream with some tips. I've got 2 games I need a tip. If you haven't joined, there's a link. We'll quickly do that now. Okay. We will do that now. It's ESPN footy tips. Google. I mean, no one spoke about him, John, though. No one spoke about Ned Long fitting into the equation. ESPN footy tips. All right. Share. Okay. Remove that one. All right. All right, here we go. So we'll make this quick. The Pies footy tipping comp. Where are we? Competitions. Am I blind? There it is. So tip now. All right. Match cancelled. I'm going to go Sydney. I know they don't have Goulden, but I just think there's still too much talent in that team. I think Hawthorn are good. They've got Barras. They've got Battle into the side. They weren't overly impressive in the preseason fixtures. The game's in Sydney. They've got a new refreshing look with Dean Cox. There's been a lot of teams. Lee Montagna shed some light on this the other day. He talked about how grand finalists who lose by 8 or more goals typically don't make finals the following year. And so this is the first time a team who has lost by more than 8 goals in a grand final has gone into the next year with a new coach. So I think Sydney are being really proactive with this one and learnt from their previous mistakes. I think this is a great move, having Dean Cox on the side, leading the side as the coach. Oh, Freddie Jong's back. Oh, no. Welcome, mate. Yep, so I've got Sydney and Shock. I'm going to go Collingwood. And you know all my reasons why. And we shall submit our tips. That's official. Does that go across all my tips? Yeah, it does. Okay, it goes across all my leagues. So be sure to join. Be sure to join if you haven't already. This is Andreas's league as well. And at the moment we have, I think, like nearly 80 members. 80 members. Remember, you can join at any time throughout the year. I've got 82 members, and the prize is $300. Winner takes all. If you're not first, you're last. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanks for joining us this afternoon, and we will see you on Sunday for the pre-game show. Go Pies.